You didn't make it. Who was making gingerbread men that big? Who makes gingerbread men and doesn't frost them? Honestly, I would do that. Well, hello there. Today we are making gingerbread men. To start, we are going to cream a half cup of shortening, which I'm going to use butter, but you can use shortening if you want, and a half cup of packed brown sugar. Make sure your butter is soft, and if you have a hand mixer or a stand mixer, go ahead and use that to cream your butter and your sugar together. I'm going to do mine by hand. Now that our butter and our sugar is creamed together, so it's nice and creamy, there are no lumps of butter and there are no lumps of sugar, we're going to set that aside, and we are going to mix together our dry ingredients. In my bowl already, I have 3 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, and to that we are going to add what I have mixed in this bowl already, which is 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, a half teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and a half teaspoon of ground ginger. So we're just going to add that right into our flour. Get that all incorporated. And I always forget that the wet ingredients should go in a big bowl, but that's okay. We're going to do it now. Because what we're going to do is add our flour mixture into our butter and sugar mixture. We're going to start with some of the flour, maybe a third of it, and then we're going to add in portions of our molasses and some water. So let me get the butter mixture into a bigger bowl. And I'm gonna stick to stirring with my wooden spoon because I think this batter is going to get pretty thick. Okay, let's mix in some of our flour. Careful so that it doesn't go flying everywhere. Okay, let's put in some of our molasses. Our recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup, so I just have original molasses. Whatever molasses you have, go with it. This recipe doesn't specify. Since molasses is thick and sticky, what I did to my measuring spoon is I put a couple drops of oil in there and used a paper towel and just wiped it along the inside and the corners and the bottom. And this will help your molasses come out so half of your molasses isn't getting stuck in your measuring cup. So I'm just gonna start with putting in 1/4 cup. Okay, let's see how easily it comes out. Hopefully okay. Well, you can see it kind of helped. It didn't stick to all the edges. Maybe I just needed a little bit more oil in there. Either way, get all of it out of there. Pam works well too. If you take some Pam and spray the inside of your measuring spoon, that's an awesome alternative. And we have a 1/4 cup's worth of water, so we're going to put in a little bit of that. All right, so more of our flour. If you want to put half of it in at one time, go for it. Whatever is easier for you. All right, another 1/4 cup of molasses. And a little bit more of our water. Stir that up. Make make sure you're stirring all the way to the bottom so that you get all that rich molasses mixed in. The cookie dough is getting thick, so it's good. The wooden spoon is a good thing to mix with. Let's get the rest of our flour in there. And our last 1/4 cup of molasses, making it 3/4 cups. And our last little bit of water. I realized I was supposed to mix in my flour before adding the liquids, but it's okay. That's how it goes sometimes. I'm going to scrape down the edges of my bowl just to make sure I get all of the goodness mixed in. Once you have it all mixed together, we have to let it sit for at least an hour in the fridge. So if you wanted to make this the night before, that would be a good option. Or if you make it in the morning, and then you can make your cookies in the evening, or you can just go run an errand while it's chilling out in the fridge. All right, our beautiful golden gingerbread cookie dough is ready to go in the fridge. Probably put some saran over the top, and I'm gonna clean up the kitchen, and I'll see you guys back here when this is ready to be rolled out and we can make our gingerbread men. All right, it has been an hour, and I have our gingerbread cookie dough out of the fridge. And as you saw, I have a clean surface, and I put down some flour and a little bit of white sugar just so that our cookie dough doesn't stick. And then I have a little plate for me to dip my cookie cutter in, because sometimes the dough likes to stick to your cookie cutter and it can be a whole mess. And then I have my handy dandy, why can't I think of the word? Rolling pin. Wow. Rolling pin, aka wine bottle, because I just can't bring myself to buy a rolling pin because I use it a handful of times a year, and I have a used wine bottle that I keep around and it works just fine. So what we're going to do is take a spatula and preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And then I have a cookie sheet. You can either grease a cookie sheet, or I like parchment, so I just have parchment on my cookie sheet. As I was saying, your cookie dough is going to be pretty thick and tough just because it's cold and it's a thick dough to begin with, but we're going to get it all out onto our floured surface. Takes a little bit of work, but we got there. Your dough is a little bit sticky, so we're going to flour our rolling pin, makeshift rolling pin or not. And we're gonna flour the top of our cookie dough a little bit. This is just to prevent sticking, which can be a big headache. And our recipe says to roll it out until it's about a 1/4 inch thick. It doesn't have to be in any particular shape. Round, square, oblong, ovular, whatever. Just, we want it to be the same thickness all the way across so that our cookies cook evenly. If you want to get technical, we can get out a ruler. We can do that. I have one. We can go down a little bit more. I realize not everyone has a ruler in their kitchen. Maybe you should get one. I'm just kidding. Okay. And if you have some thinner areas, you can just push it in a little bit and then it'll puff it up. Okay. Now I have my little gingerbread man. I don't know where I got these. Actually, I know where I got them. They were a gift. I don't know where my gift giver got them. But it's really nice because you have the full-size one, and then you have a little baby one, but if you push on it, it pushes the front forward to help you get your cookie dough out of your cookie cutter. So, where to start? Push all the way down. Oh my. This is why it's important to flour everything. And maybe you want to cut out all of your gingerbread men and then scoop them off. Mine are sticking onto my cookie cutter, so I'm just going to put them one by one onto my baking sheet. It's like a major operation. If you have any tips on this process, leave a comment down below. How to make this easier. Oh, maybe I should keep flouring your cookie cutter. That helps. That helps a lot. All right. Pull away as best you can your cookie dough, and as the dough warms up, you can see that it's getting softer. So I might end up putting the ungingerbread manned cookie dough back in the fridge. So definitely, if you can do this overnight or leave it, make it in the morning and work with it in the evening, that might be better. He didn't make it. I'm get a casualty. My dough is definitely thicker in the middle, and I think that is what part of the issue is. So we have some special gingerbread men ready to go into the oven. And like I said, our oven is preheated at 350 degrees. So we're gonna pop these in for about 12 minutes. And since they're already such a dark golden brown, it's going to be hard to tell when they're done, but the recipe also says 12 minutes or until the cookie springs back lightly in the center. So if I were to squish this gingerbread men right now, the dent is going to stay, whereas when it's cooked, if I push down like that, it'll rise back up again. So we're going to pop these in the oven, and then I'm going to ball up the rest of our cookie dough and pop it back in my bowl and put it back in the fridge and let it firm up a little bit more, and that'll make it easier to work with. All right, it's been 12 minutes. Let's see what the cookies look like. They're so plump. Hold on, I have to show you this guy. Can we just look how pudgy he is? He was definitely a center one. Okay, let's give it a squish test. I'm going to put them in for just another minute because this big guy needs another minute. I only put them in for about 1.5 minutes because I don't want to overcook them. I think they're okay. So we're going to take them off of our tray, and if you have a metal cooling rack, you can put these on there. I don't. I just use an inside-out paper bag, you know, whatever you have. Some of these look so funny. He looks kind of angry. And he's just very jolly. Now, this recipe is wild. It says that this batch of cookies should make 10 6 to 8 inch tall gingerbread men. Maybe it does. Okay, let's look at our biggest one. Our biggest gingerbread man is about 4.5 inches. From his feet to there would be an 8-inch tall gingerbread man. Who is making gingerbread men that big? Not us, folks, not us. But go ahead and make the rest of your cookies. My dough is still chilling. We're gonna let these little guys cool, and then we are going to make the frosting, because who makes gingerbread men and doesn't frost them? Honestly, I would do that, but frosting is more fun. All right, we have a couple of our cooled cookies, and now it's time to make our frosting. So it's simple, just 4 ingredients. We have powdered sugar, also known as confectioner's sugar, some milk, some vanilla extract, and some softened butter. Make sure it is at room temperature, please. So this recipe makes a lot of frosting, so I cut it down to only 1/4 of the recipe, but I'll be sure to put the original recipe down below in the description. So I have a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, and to that I'm going to add about 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract. That's your flavoring. About 1 teaspoon of milk. And you can always change this. Start with less, you can always add more. And then I have 4 tablespoons of softened butter. And if you can sift your powdered sugar, that would be great. It just helps to get any lumps out. I don't have a sieve or a flour sifter, so I just have it straight from the bag. And then just mix that up until it's smooth. Okay, I think we have it. So this right now is a little bit of a thicker consistency. You can see it doesn't really run off of my spoon. If you want it a little bit thinner, you can just add a little bit more milk. But when it's thicker, it'll stand up more and you'll be able to control your piping onto your cookies. So you'll be able to decorate more precisely. So I'm gonna stick with this consistency. I'm not gonna add any more milk. Now, if you have food coloring or food coloring gel and you want to use that, go ahead and do that. You can separate your frosting into some separate dishes so that you can use different colors. I'm just gonna go with this classic cream color that it naturally is from our milk and butter and powdered sugar, but have fun with it. Now, if you don't have any icing or piping bags, that's okay. You probably have Ziploc bags in your home. And that is what I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my frosting into my bag and I'm going to cut off just the tiniest bit of the corner, and then that will allow me to control my icing. So I just rolled down the top of my bag just so that it's clean and it's easier to get your frosting into the bottom. And you can definitely give it a little bit of a taste test. That is lovely. It's a nice sweet vanilla flavor. Okay. I'm just gonna roll the top of my bag back up, and that gives me something to grab onto. And then we're just gonna cut the smallest end of our bag, if that's what you're using, because I want to be able to pipe really fine lines. If that's what you're doing. If you want to be able to pipe thicker lines, just cut a bigger end. But the hole is going to be bigger than you expect. So start small, you can always cut off more. All right. So I have a couple of my lovely little gingerbread men. Have fun with it and decorate however you want. They're not perfect, but that's okay. Make them with family and just have fun. Or make them by yourself and just have fun. Be creative and enjoy the process. As your frosting sits, it'll harden a little bit, so that's what I'm going to let these do. But in the meantime, I'm going to take one of our unfrosted ones and give it a taste test. So I have this little guy. He doesn't have too many indents from my cookie cutter, but he's going to taste great just the same. What is it with biting the heads off of gingerbread men that's so satisfying? That is so yummy. You have the rich molasses flavor and the texture of the cookie. This one is a little thinner than most of them, but it's still a little chewy. So there's a crunch on the outside, and then it's chewy on the inside. So if you like really chewy cookies, roll your dough out a little bit thicker, and if you want crunchy cookies, roll it out thinner. But the flavor is so warm and rich and nostalgic, and it's just Christmas in a cookie. Of course, we need to taste it with a little bit of frosting on there. These work really well together because the cookie by itself isn't super sweet, and so the vanilla frosting just brings some extra sweetness to your cookie, and it's not overly sickly sweet, but the two flavors together marry really well together. Merry Christmas in a cookie. Give this recipe a try and let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos from me, hit that subscribe button and that bell so you know when I drop the next recipe. Thanks for watching.